Go live.
G'day, I'm Scott and I need a haircut. Here's Matt.
G'day, I'm Matt Bailey. I also need a haircut.
Hi, I'm Alex Dahlenburg, and I told them both that they need haircuts.
She hasn't told me yet, but I do need
He needs a haircut. He needs a haircut.
And we've been out of isolation so long, you guys should have this shit sorted.
But we don't, so there we go.
You know what? This
The
is
funny thing about hair, that it has to be cut continuously. Unfortunately, it's not a one-hit wonder.
guys. This is week 12-ish.
My gosh, is it that long?
Of Whisky Roundtable. We've been doing this virtually now for about 12, 13 weeks. I'm not going to keep exact timings of how long we've been doing it or whatnot, but it's exciting that we're doing this one live now in person. And we're at Kiss Kiss Bang Bang here in Sydney on Bridge Lane. This is Alex's baby of a venue.
What a beauty it is.
And what a beauty it is. And we're here because due to COVID, it's usually open on a Wednesday, but now we're taking the venue over. And if we have to stop at certain points and look over in that direction and tell people that we're closed, it's because the door's just over there and we're really sorry, but that's the way it goes.
And it's more illuminated at the moment than it normally is on a closed night.
There's more lights on than normally in here, sure.
Usually it's super dark and super sexy, but now we've actually quite highly lit for the first time in a while. And I'm talking about the lighting, not us.
Kills the mood.
Oh.
So, I mean, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang's been open right now for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
Opened in February in 2020, yes. I think we got like 5 weeks trade. And then we did close down. We're currently operating Thursday through to Saturday in here, and we'll push out as the city expands, obviously because the CBD's not back to what it used to be. So the team are rocking in here from 5 p.m. Thursday through to Saturday and killing it with bookings. It's just such a super sexy venue, and the cocktails are amazing. Alyssa Gabriel did the cocktails, and the wonderful
Star.
yeah, and the wonderful Joy Mao is looking after the venue as venue manager. So we've got star team with Sam Benedettos, Alana Hingston, and the wonderful Charlotte, who's just got in the top 10 of the Patron Perfectionists. And then Sam and Charlotte are both in the Bacardi Speed Comp this weekend. So it's quite the stellar team here.
I've been enjoying the last sort of like weekend, the last like 7 days of all the bartenders who are like getting through the finals in these competitions, like sharing the videos.
Yeah.
It's been quite entertaining watching, I think, particularly on Instagram.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, look, it's really cool in the industry to see the comps coming back. I mean, this week, Australian Bartender Magazine announced that they're cancelling Bar Week, which is super sad, but completely understandable as well.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that we're having these comps come through, giving a little bit of that light and excitement to us around Sydney. So I'm super excited about the comps, and fingers crossed the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang team do really well this weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, obviously we're very lucky to be able to sit in a venue at the moment because our friends down south can't do this right now. But I mean, I work in this industry, Matt and Andrew, you work in this industry, but not from this side. So we've got a little bit of insight for like people, what's involved with a bar that is running every week, every day to stop? Like what? And I'm looking at like this beautiful back bar here. There's like fantastic champagne shelf around the corner.
They had to pull all that off and hide it away in the cupboards and office, but it was quite a brutal time to shut down. Like we've just shut down 4 venues in Melbourne recently, with our wonderful Nick and Nora's that had 3 days trade to the public. And then got told we had to close down. So there is quite a bit. There's a lot of perishables that do get distributed amongst the teams to take home. And I'm not talking, whiskey is not perishable, guys.
It is when it's around there.
That's why we keep it in the cupboard. However, there's a fair bit of work in closing it down. There's contracts that are anywhere between 3 and 7 days trading that we need to cancel or suspend.
Yeah.
And it's not just a matter of locking the doors. I know that I spent 4 days closing down when Sydney closed down, closing down 3 venues. And it wasn't just me. There was quite a numerous amount of teams that were in there and helping us. But it's not just a lock the door and walk away situation. you've got to do fridge cleans, because if you're leaving fridges closed and off,
Yeah.
that's where the fun stuff starts, when you open the
The real
doors
smells.
again.
The real smells.
I got plenty of that at home, and I need it at the venues I come to as well.
Yeah. Look, it's super sad what's going on in Melbourne. I know that a lot of the hard work is being done by the Melbourne teams, making sure that, you know, we do get to open the doors again, and working our asses off here in Sydney to support the greater company as best we can, to make sure that we do open all the doors. And we've got some great landlords that are helping us out and working with us. And that's one of the key things, like that negotiation with landlords has been huge for all of us. And if we didn't have great landlords, we'd probably be in trouble.
Yeah.
So very grateful to all involved that have kept us all going. And fingers crossed we don't lose too many of us.
Yeah, and obviously we're in a bit of state of flux at the moment, but we're holding on. If you've been to a pub near Campbelltown, go home.
Or Casula?
Casula,
Campbelltown?
Picton, and I love Picton, such a great town, Picton.
I did a training with Whisky and Almond an hour after it was announced. I've been too busy prepping that I hadn't noticed. I started just like, hey guys, how's it going? How's everyone going? It's like, well, this has just happened. I was like, oh.
Whatever you're about to pour me, like, Kate.
I was like, well, thank God you all have whiskey in front of you from me, and then we can at least soften this one a little bit. But it was just heartbreaking to just sit there and like, oh, that's the start of this conversation. It's like, God, it's, but, you know, it's a strong industry.
But
It's
also
full of guns, and, you know, I think
Not literal guns.
yeah. But no, I think there's been a huge learning from the first part of closure 1. So closure 2 means that, you know, I think from what I've been seeing, a lot of people saying, you know, we've learned from what works and what didn't, and, you know, we've streamlined and gone, okay, this was tricky, this was really successful, so let's carry on with that, and let's check on that, and let's just move forward and make sure we actually just go with what delivers.
I think we're going to see a lot more if we do go into a secondary closure. We're going to see a lot more venues going, stuff it, let's do takeaway, let's get it out to our customers. So I know that we in Speakeasy this time round, for example, Milne, Melbourne, we start our Milne at home.
Yeah.
So your Viking feast at home, we start it next week. So you start signing up for.
I was kind of jealous when I saw that they were doing it in Melbourne. I was just like,
get up your ass and go into the restaurant, Andy. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for orders by Wednesday, we will be sending out Milne feasting kits to your house. Mm-hmm. You can select to even have your bone luge sent to you with your 30 mils of Highland Park to be able to pour it through the bone marrow at home. You can buy the shot glasses, you can take the horns. Like, we've literally packaged up everything except for the knives. Sorry, guys. We've packaged up.
They've already all been stolen.
But in Melbourne, so we'll deliver it to you, and I think that that's off the back of a couple of corporate events we did that we were ready to go with it. Look at you two giggling.
Yeah, exactly what we're meant to be talking about. I went live so we can't.
So we'll do that with a couple of venues, and if we do go into a secondary closure, hell yeah, we'll be doing it with Milne Sydney. I'm looking at O2V, and Nick and Nora's doing some cool shit. Yeah. So
is the bone luge now a permanent part of the Milne merch?
Yes. Not merch, no.
Merch.
Merch.
It comes with every T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you've got to buy the bone marrow.
Right.
Can you just get like a one made up in a plastic or something you can flog to people with Milne branding on the side?
You don't get the same earthy.
Yeah. It's also, isn't that just the same as necking whiskey out of a bottle?
Yes, but think of the uni party market you could crack. Like they can't afford to get a restaurant.
Hold up, let me pull my piece of bone out of my pocket.
Parties and
Like,
making
that's not...
I don't ever remember as a student drinking Highland Park, let alone shotting it.
Throughout uni, I was just drinking Speyburn.
Oh,
There's our first Yes!
Choke of the night.
Choke! Can we pour a whiskey?
Let's do it.
Now, Scotty, you brought some Aussie stuff.
Look, let's have a bit of a celebration to start off with. I've been making a few phone calls this week, or actually the last couple of weeks, and I take this up because I had to walk from work and I wanted to go through my bag, so this might need to be a long story. Do you want
No, just how about we just pour it?
Yeah. Well, it's got sticky tape around the top of it, which is what I'm getting to. So
Just be more efficient.
And
What do they
for anyone
say?
who called,
Prior-
I did an interview with Jane Overeem and Mark.
Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Mark Sawford just 2 nights ago on Monday night. It didn't go incredibly well. We can thank Tasmanian Internet for that. I hope to catch up with those guys again soon. But just turn it. Just turn the cork.
we're not going to pour it back in.
No, he's like, tape this motherfucker up.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not 9 o'clock yet.
No, so we've been fielding a lot of requests from hunters, Oak Barrel members, and then the industry a little bit. That is Whisky Fair happening this year, and it's not. And that's all right. A little bit of a relief for me, because I was going to have to pull something that takes 12 months together in about 2 months. But we are going to launch something called Sydney Whisky Forum, which will be announced next week, which is a little bit of a knowledge-based / virtual tasting / a couple of very special things we're talking about. But speaking to a few distilleries in the last couple of days who were actually...
sticky tape too.
Yeah, thank you. Who were in line to come to our distillers dinner this year or launch some new products at the fair this year. We're working with them to do some stuff, so I thought I'm going to dig out, and I stumbled across this to sort of celebrate the Overeem comeback back underneath the Overeem Sawford's family name.
Super excited about
Super
that.
excited. So this is actually the cask sample of the PX cask that they eventually released. That is the very last from last year's distillers dinner that I didn't know I had, and then basically found 1 dram of each on there tonight. So, and a quick g'day to Peter Bignell, who I think, if he's still watching, is on there at the moment. So it says sherry cask. It is a sherry cask, but just on the side there, it's actually just there.
PX cask, 62.7% ABV, sample 2 of 2.
2 of 2. 1 of 1 doesn't exist anymore. 1 of 2 doesn't exist anymore, but 2 of 2. This is sort of the end of it. But so this was
62.7%.
Yeah, which is unusual.
It's gone up.
Well, that was because it was a cask sample and gone back down to 60. So, yeah, just sort of the conversations I've been having with people in the last week or so, and there's another one that we might do a little bit later from another distillery. I don't know if you can see that there. It's who I spoke to today who are going to get involved. But, yeah, I thought this might be a good way to kick it off. And 62.7, wake you up, get excited, give you the full kiss, kiss, bang, bang experience, as I see it. I don't know if that's the way that they see it, but certainly the way I see it.
How do you not work in their marketing department already? Straight away. Look at this.
What, my marketing department?
But
Sure.
I'm not even taking that further.
I think Air has actually treated this one reasonably well.
It's held up. It's certainly
Super chocolate in the finish.
Yeah, and that was an element of the initial whiskey from almost a year ago now.
I know this might sound crazy, but it's like rum and raisin dark chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like you get loads of fruit at the start, and you get this really nice, like malty chocolate kind of character at the end. It's a cracker.
So yeah, welcome to 4 Idiots Drinking Whiskey.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what it is tonight. We're just excited to be together. I can't tell you about the last time we were together, though. Shit got rowdy, right?
I don't remember.
I couldn't possibly divulge.
Probably the best. There was a few other people
Sorry,
there.
big poppers.
Yeah, see, there was
I can't show my face there again.
bit of help. But yeah, so I mean, so basically what the forum's going to be, and this will be explained a little bit better because this, something a little bit different, is almost like a mini conference where there's panels and that sort of thing. But we're trying to mirror as much as we can what we would have done anyway. We had things pretty much locked in January. So the Wednesday night, for the past 5 years, has always been Tim Duckett from Hartwood and Tasmania Independent Bottlers. His night to come up and bring some of his own bottlings, but New Make Spirit from places he's excited about, some older bottles from places he's excited about, and just talk about what he calls it his trails through Tasmania, what Tasmanian whiskey looks like at the moment. So we're doing that again with some of his friends. I think we'll be jumping on board. But I think it's a quite interesting concept because, I remember 5 years ago, I would be lucky to have, at Christmas time, 1 bottle of Overeem, 1 Lark, 1 Starwood on the shelf of the Oak Barrel, and that was about it. And now there's bottlings coming out from distilleries with actual whiskey 2 years old that I've never heard of before, and it's meant to be my job to know about this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, your thoughts on, I know, Matt, you're very, you're down there, or used to be down there quite a bit, and you know those guys quite well, but, Tasmania talks about, going for a GI, for a lot of time, get that protected. Right? Like, what is Tasmanian whiskey at the moment? What does it mean?
That's a good question. I mean, I think some people like to differentiate Tasmania from Australia, and I don't think that's. I think it's if we're going to go by any regionality, that's one that you could draw upon. But what is Tasmanian whiskey? I mean, it's so much going on down there. As even Jane said the other night, there's something like 57 whiskey distilleries in Tasmania at the moment, let alone distilleries. There's a few that just do gin and white spirits. I don't know what it means to be Tasmanian whiskey. It's like you said GI. It's like, what is, will they ever get... I mean, they've been working on appellation for a good 7-8 years now. And, I don't know. That might happen, but I don't know if it's overly important either, but I think it's exciting to see what that could become and where it ends up. But I do think that actually, the regionality, it comes down to regionality. It's like, I think that Tasmanian whiskey does taste uniquely different from Australian whiskey. I don't think I've ever confused sort of like a Starwood or an Archie Rose or something like that with a Tasmanian whiskey.
But is that because there's more Tasmanian, that there's a... Like, it's not, Starwood is uniquely Starwood, Archie Rose is uniquely Archie Rose. As we grow more in Australia...
Perhaps, yeah.
We'll actually probably find it harder to blur the lines between the two.
G'day to Jose down in
Yes.
Casa de Vinos, who says that every time I say the word bottlers, the captions are changing it to the word balls. So maybe
you got captions on it. You got captions on for us, mate.
So maybe we continue that through. The word bottlers is now banned from the today.
Balls.
Yeah. So
My favourite balls are...
So Matt works for one of my favourite balls.
He's all about the balls. Nothing else really.
I work for a massive independent balls.
And g'day to Cody down in South Australia at Haynes & Co.
Hey,
who's
Cody.
doing an excellent job doing the old keep COVID away thing. But on that...
I miss you, Cody.
I think I agree with that sort of Archie Rose Starwood thing and what you were saying. Some of these new ones coming through who haven't found their own voice yet.
Oh, and that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem, and that's not a new thing either. That's like, if every distillery buys the same mash and copies the same stills and uses the same cask type, you're going to end up with a lot of distilleries that taste like a lot of the same.
Yeah,
and that's even Scotland had those same problems in the late 1800s, the early 1900s. They had almost the same problems, many of the same problems then, and it took 100 years to iron out. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing the same thing in Australia now. It's like we're seeing a lot of distilleries that, and no disrespect to any of them, but a lot of them are saying, it started with people looking at Larkin going, "Oh, that works, so we'll sort of model that," or people looking at Sullivan's Cove and saying, "That works, we'll model that."
Yeah. And
that's great, and they're obviously learning from what those distilleries have created. But over time, that means that they're going to have homogenisation of character.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I loved about Westwood. They came from a brewing culture, so they were playing with all sorts of different malts. One of my team members and I were talking about it today, that from that brewing culture, that playing with all of the different types of malts to work out what they were happy with. And I think we got, like, for example, when I ran around Scotland, I was like, what are you using? What are you using? What are you using? And everyone was saying similar things.
Yeah.
Yeah, from like 3 malters.
There's three main malts.
3 main.
So you've got Baines, Crisps, and the other one.
Simpsons.
Simpsons.
But Alex, what are you looking for when someone, puts a new Australian whiskey from you in front of a bar and just like the Oak Barrel, gone are the days where you'd take an Australian whiskey because it was the only one you could get.
Oh, yeah.
To cut through that, cacophonous mess of all these different voices, what stands out for you that is going to work across a bar?
I know this is really terrible, but the way it goes on my back bar is if I like it.
Yeah.
Or if one of my team
But
members is
that's-
super
that-
passionate
that's-
about it.
That should be the best
reason.
reason. Because the frustration with it a lot of times, people sort of go, so it's just another ex-bourbon cask Scotch whiskey. And it's like, yeah, it's a really good one. It's like, yeah, but I've got
Whiskey.
3 others that are, ex-bourbon Scotch. It's like, well,
Yeah.
but this is really good. And it's like, yeah, but I've got 3 others. It's like, fine, well, would you replace it with this once that's gone? It's like, maybe I've used
So
that.
I, in my sort of, I've been thinking about the forum for about just 2 or 3 years, but in sort of the last month when I thought, okay, this is going to happen, this is a really good opportunity out of a really shit year, we can maybe do a new idea. I've just been walking around thinking about questions, and I walked into, I'm not trying to throw anyone on the bus here, but quite a prominent Sydney-based whiskey bar, and had to look for Australian whiskey. And I found it, but I sat there for a good hour, and it just, but okay,
I know exactly which part. We all know which one you're talking about. Okay,
and
fine.
I'm sure you
fine.
do, but this is something that I want to talk about. I was like, okay, so where has that gone wrong? Like, at what point? And I looked at some of those bottles, and some of those bottles have been there for 3 or 4 years, like all that sort of stuff. But I mean, that's I guess what we're going to delve into, which I think is quite a fascinating thing, because the Australian whiskey community around the community is very loud and very vocal, and there's some great stuff. And I'm not like, we all love Australian whiskey, but when we see the realities, the commercial realities, and I walk in and goes like, oh, hold on, what's going on here?
If from a marketing point of view, then it's something that I have to battle with regularly is, pricing. I spend half my time writing PowerPoint presentations and half my time doing price builds, and so I'm either in PowerPoint or Excel. And pricing is one of the most important elements of it. And when you're a long-established Scotch whisky, Irish whisky, American whisky distillery, you've got a lot more flexibility in terms of what you've got in the past and what you've got forward. So you haven't got big outlay of business costs that sort of kind of have to factor in. So your whiskey and also obviously being from somewhere like Scotland, where age is a much slower process, you can have a 15-year-old, 20-year-old whiskey that is far more affordable. So as a consumer, and there's two types of consumers, and there's the whiskey geek, and really we are a small community in the world of
And the
whiskey.
and the whiskey geek is always the most vocal.
Yeah, but that community
So
of drinkers is...
So I can't call myself a whiskey geek anymore. Because I've learned to shut my mouth.
You're a common hammer.
that's the next category.
The way you look, you're like, you're going to pick that one up?
Yeah, I've got to go now, sorry.
And that's it for tonight. Thank you very much.
But
We're in her venue like the doors could shut in a second.
Eject button.
Yeah.
but the rest of that market is the far bigger market, and they're the ones that aren't, researching, getting all the information, and knowing what everything's around. So they go into a bar, they see, okay, there's loads of Scotch whisky. I've heard of that. That's 10 years old. That's 15 years old. That's 20 years old. It's like, cool, awesome. And then, if you do look at Australian whiskey, you're like, okay, well, it's that. I've never heard of it. It's that. I've never heard of it. That. Never heard of it. All right. Does it have an age in it? No. It's the same price as this, and that's a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the 20-year-old because that's, it's a big part of it is communication. We talked about it before with Indian whiskey. It's like, it's the same with Indian whiskey. It's like you hand sell it at every step of the way because your
For
mind...
now.
For now, exactly.
Yeah,
Your mind
people were
your
hand-selling
mind,
Japanese whiskey only 5 years ago.
exactly.
So.
Your mind is geared
Give
to
us that away.
automatically go to what's comfortable and what you know the most and what's the most obvious. And so, those are products that require a bit more attention.
But also on that
4
thing,
years does a bit.
Starwood is a brand that we all love, the distillery will love it. One of my whiskey of the years, a couple of years ago, was the Twofold. And you look at the Australian whiskey and go, that's a cheap whiskey by other distillers' examples. But Twofold, and even though Starwood's a business that's probably got overpaying for their first still, like they're a bit beyond that now, it's still a scale game. And when Starwood...
they're expanding again, so
Yeah.
they still have to pay again for the next new still.
But Starwood needs to sort of compete with Jamison, Jack, and Jim, and Johnny Red. And
Throwing whiskey on each other
Sorry,
already.
It's not 9 o'clock yet.
A big shout out to Mark from Wolfburn who says, g'day, good to see us all together
Hey.
again.
And a big shout out to Darren Howie, Adrian Graham, Mark Teague, everyone tuning on the Society side as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, did I hear a fact the other day that Australia is approaching more distilleries, not whiskey, but distilleries than Scotland right now?
Well, it's already eclipsed it.
Yeah,
So it's
we-
eclipsed
we've
it.
been well
By
past
how
it.
much?
Scotland's 192.
No. Oh, including just little gin distilleries and stuff? Maybe.
No. What are we at?
It's about 130
100
whiskey distilleries.
Yeah,
And it's about...
so you've probably got about 30, 40 odd gins.
How recently has the count been done with the micro ones out the back?
Well, it's very hard to keep track because you don't know if they're even operating.
Yeah, but I guess it's the same with Australia.
Yeah. I mean, you can... What is the smallest scale we're talking in Scotland is Strathern or something like that, and which is 20,000 litres, which is a big distillery in Tassie.
Yeah.
What are we drinking,
Yeah, that's a
gents?
good point. Yeah.
Because I really like it.
This is a very good whiskey.
It's a very good whiskey.
A big success at Whisky Fair 2019.
Yep.
funnily
Was,
enough.
yeah.
Which I think, when people come to Whisky Fair and they go, or Sydney Whisky Fair, I should say, and they come up and they say, look, what are we going to bring? I was like, oh, it's a bit expensive, whatever. I think we had 12 peat hearts.
It was 12 Pete Hart and 24.
And 24.
I'd run out of 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
Skipped it out.
what was the biggest seller?
24.
24. I just
Yeah.
like,
It's a lovely whiskey. It was also very well priced for a 24-year-old whiskey
Yeah.
as well.
That's one of the main drivers. It's just
What was it? It was like
relatively.
$400 or something.
oh, no,
It
it
was
was under that. Yeah,
Two
it was,
seventy?
it was sub 300.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Very, very well.
Very well priced. It's a lovely whiskey. It shows its age very nicely.
I mean, like,
Oh, I want to keep drinking that. I'm dying. I can't.
one of the things for me, and obviously, maybe and you can talk a little bit more about this brand, but Australia for me has
No,
always
I'm
had
just
this
reading
penchant
it.
for like big flavours, big sherry, even not in our own, but like in Scotch and in bourbon and everything. Big peat, big sherry, big this, big that. And the Inox 16 was such a great whiskey. And then when it
Yeah.
disappeared sort of, overnight here because it takes a little while to filter through.
Yeah.
And that sort of the last container went and that was it. And people really missed it. And that was the first time I really saw people who were not like in the whiskey industry and like loved it but weren't really, engaged in it as much. And it was like, man, that was just a really good whiskey. And I was like, man, that is awesome because that was just a really complex, proper whiskey.
Both of them. So
Really long finish.
It was a 16 and
Really
a
long.
22-year-old, and both of them were just like, this is awesome. And yeah,
Thirsty.
we were running out of liquid to provide, so normally people go down in age, we just went up. And just when actually this is just getting older, so let's just do an 18 and a 24-year-old instead. And it's completely unlike the rest of the distillery as well, which is kind of what I look like. I've got a single vintage there as well, and the 12-year-old is mainly bourbon, but this is like big sherry, but kind of really well balanced rather than just like upfront sweetness. It's still got that dryness, it's still got that balance.
Is it
Just a
available
big-
anymore?
Just
Yeah, there's still
This
some.
one?
Still some available. We get a very small allocation to Australia each year,
Yeah.
but there's still some kicking around.
And you've said what it retails for?
It's about it'll be the 270, 300.
Yeah, cool.
No. It was really. I was chatting to the guy. So there's only
That's
six.
delicious.
There's only 6 people that run the distillery. So it's the 6 men of Knock. Is it called?
Yeah.
And interestingly, none of them have come from a distilling background or a science background. So every single one of them has had another job before they've gone into distilling, which is for rural Scotland is quite rare. Most people, you start your first job and you go straight into distilling, or you start as a kind of apprentice and scientist and then run through that system and go through. But these guys. These guys all had these different jobs, and it was kind of, it was a carpenter or a mechanic or an engineer on this. And so in all their free time, they just go in and fix up the distillery as well. So they'll take holiday, and it's like, oh, are you on holiday? It's just like, yeah, I'm just going to fix up this wall because it's, it needs a bit of work done on it. And so like, they were just walking a day off, fix the place like it was their own house. And it's also to just have that kind of team around you that, we've never had to bring in like external contractors to fix up the distillery because someone's gone, oh no, I know how to do that, it's fine, I can fix that one. So you've just got this.
Just a big shout out, Damien Cost Beckwith, good to see you, mate, from 18th Amendment.
And the new one as well.
Yes, which is one of our partner bars in Ballarat, which was the Lost Ones. It is now 18th Amendment Ballarat that they bought just recently.
I love a bit of a sidetrack that you have, like the partner bars. Do you have, because you got one in Ballarat?
Yeah. But they're great, but they were the Lost Ones, and 18th, and George brought them out. Now they're 18th Amendment. Yeah.
Do you have one for the north as well, somewhere?
No,
Or in
not
Geelong?
not yet. But you know what? We're with 18th Amendment in Ballarat, so the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so
the great reveal.
I love that, and I know it's something you've spoken a lot about, and something that this is what this year was going to be for me is get on the road, and I did 3 nights in a row at Dubbo, and then I had like Newcastle and Wollongong talking about that. Then you do the Mildura to Echuca, Straddle the Murray thing was going to be awesome, and then I started doing a spanner in. But I love, and I know Matt, you love this as well. It's like getting out of the city obviously a very good thing.
I've said
But,
this to Scotty so many times that one of my
so much
favourite
fun.
branches of society membership that I love hosting for is the Wollongong branch. They are the best members. Sorry, Sydney.
You guys are assholes. We hate you.
Righto.
No. But
Well,
no, it's
okay,
just,
we love you. Matt hates you.
we call it Wollongong is affectionately called the Case branch, the Norman Case branch, after his efforts. If you don't know who Norman Case is, that's something that is well worth researching. He basically is the founder of Appreciation of Single Malt Whisky in Australia, and ran whisky imports. He's responsible for bringing in Glenfiddich, Highland Park, Gordon MacPhail, all these brands and distilleries. This guy was a living legend. And then we're on dynamic mics, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
He ran a whiskey imports company out of Wollongong, and the Wollongong branch are a very educated, very enthralled crowd of whiskey appreciators. And I've said this before, they ask great questions. You get a great vibe, and that's why we've done a bunch of events, as you know, in Newcastle. We've done them in Geelong. We've done them in Ballarat, and we try to get out a bit as you do. You cover the other end. You cover the Dubbo, Mildura.
But you know why Wollongong isn't quite there to Dubbo? Is because when Establishment Bar closes at midnight, on a Saturday night you walk across the road to the Amaroo and there's a foam party downstairs.
Oh, what party?
Scotty loves the foam in Dubbo.
Foam party in Dubbo. They have not one, but 2 KFCs.
Yeah.
This place is booming.
I'm surrounded.
And on the screen there, we all know that Melbourne is your favourite, Matt. So,
Come on,
it's
Rob.
been
Come on, Rob.
done.
Yeah, well, yes, no, yes. Look, I can't play favourites of cities. Give me a break here. Come on, Rob. You know I love you guys in Melbourne. I'm going to pour another whiskey though.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, let's get on to your stuff.
Yeah, we'll alternate a bit. So,
Syrupy.
We're gonna go up and down as we go, So
Yeah, so may as well slum it for a little bit.
we've been down. It's time to head back up. It's the Syrupy Sweet Tale of Romance. This is one of our festival casks from this year. Please,
So what sort of indie balls is this, Matt?
Indie Balls. This is a single cask from Distillery 7, also known as Longmorn. It's a first fill sherried whiskey, please.
Longmorn, a distillery that, for me, is so good. And
It's remarkable distillery.
some of these distilleries you'll say, I love them when they're in the hands of indies, and I don't always like their official bottlings. Longmorn's still very, very good in its official bottlings. Yes,
I think it was one of my old boss's favourite whiskies that he often kind of went on about with me. It was just like, don't ever neglect this. It's so underrated. And I'm trying to think who the distillery manager is there.
It was. Now you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Because you know what the really annoying thing is?
Was it Alan? Was it Alan at that?
No, one of the sons of the distillery manager works behind the bar at Voltzing. So I should know this.
So it's time to pile on Matt, and here's other places that Matt Bailey hates. Hobart. Because he hasn't been back to Hobart since June 2019. If my memory serves correctly, the COVID crisis and flights in and out, they were still flying in July and August last year, and
Well, okay, so I was there in June. I'm very sorry, I was there in June. I didn't get back last year, and now this year's kind of a bit shit, as you know. So, thank you, Mark. That gives Scotty an opportunity to pile on, which he will never miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
He'll never miss that. So, look,
Cheers.
Cheers to the pile on.
so this was a festival cask. This is a festival cask from Longmorn. It's a 13-year-old sherried whiskey.
Available, not available?
No, long gone.
Long gone.
Long gone.
Long
Long
gone. And Caleb, the old Longmorn 16 incredible drain. I 100% agree. I don't know if this might be unpopular opinion, but when they did the relaunch and they then put the 16 into a leather cask bottling thing, bottle box.
Yeah, do you know what? The box made it a hell of a lot easier for retailers. Because do you remember the old one that had
the stupid
box? So you go and pick it up,
Yeah,
and then the box.
But even,
ABB.
I think it's called the Distillery
quite
Reserve, the standard Longmorn.
It's Distillery
62
Reserve.
plus 3, yeah.
I still think that was an
Sorry?
excellent whiskey, an
Low
nice
age.
statement.
I'm messing with you. Come on, go.
Kids,
Okay.
mum and dad are trying to have a conversation. Can the backseat please be quiet? But I thought that was an excellent whiskey. Even for as far as the your bigger brand non-age statement or your bigger parent company non-age statement, I reckon that was right up there.
But Pernod's workhouse distilleries are amazing.
Bloody excellent.
Oh,
They
they're
are-
incredible. We source from all of them at the side. We source from even what's the
You've got Glentockers, Glenkeith,
Altovane.
Oliver.
Aldervane? That was one I think of. We source Aldervanes.
One button, on
One
and off.
button, that's it. One person.
I love it.
No, they're great. They're great. Like Pete, we've had a few peated Aldervanes there, and they're fantastic whiskies.
What Matt Bailey and I were laughing about before was I tried this. I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, it's big." And I'm like, "What's the ABV?" And he's like, "Oh, you know, it's not that big.
It's pretty low.
It's pretty low, 62.3."
It's down there.
Now, guys,
It's missing a whole 36, 7.
It's missing 35%.
There was a period about 18 months ago that I went off heavily sherried whiskey.
Oh, and everyone should.
Yeah.
Everyone should.
Yeah.
Like when I first started drinking whiskey, or like super geeking out, or being a whiskey geek and vocal about it, I was all about sherry bombs. I remember Laura Hay at is it?
Can we get Laura on one of these?
I
We
will
can get
organise
Laura,
that.
Yeah, let's do that.
She's my girl. We were at Elysian. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah, we're at Elysian, and she's like, bourbon cask, ordered for the girls and I. And then she's like, and you're still sherry cask, aren't you? And I'm like, bitch, yeah. Yeah, I'm still sherry cask.
You're fine.
And then she's like, oh, you'll grow out of that. And I was like, what? And it's true. I kind of, there was a point that I was like, yeah, no, I'm not a huge sherry cask fan
Like,
anymore.
people hate me explaining it at tastings because I think it makes people realise where they are in the order of their journey, and it's not as I never say it as an insult, but it's more
not
just
discounting it.
No.
yeah, it's more just saying this is the general transition that everyone goes, and I always find you generally start with bourbon and you'll start with American whiskey and go, that's quite boring, I'll move on, and it's purely because you don't explore that much in
I
American
can't
whiskey.
wait to get that sound grab.
What was that?
But it's true. No, it's true though. It's true. Like,
It's sort of with people who sort of go, "Oh, American whiskey, that's boring." It's because you try this tiny demographic of American whiskey and sort of go, "Well, I've had Jim, I've had Jack, I've had Bullet, you know. Okay, so I've tried American whiskey."
sorry, don't. No,
my
stop. Hold on.
Only right
But
now.
by the way, like, yeah, and it's true. Like that journey changes over time, and your palate changes, and your journey in what you appreciate in whiskey changes. And if I can just do a shout out to Durbridge, he wrote a great article on Whiskey and Wisdom about coming back to Glenfiddich.
Yeah.
To see like how
I
sort of
love Glenfiddich.
exactly like because like Glenfiddich 12 is one of those examples of a whiskey that you have right at the beginning of your journey often for a lot of people, or Lafroig 10 or something, but like
underrated. Like
it is, and you come back to it after 20 years of whiskey appreciation. You go, this is actually a great whiskey.
Back to
It's
it.
such a
Yeah.
well-constructed whiskey.
It's been 5 years since I've tried it.
I'm trying to look what I got on the back bar.
Maybe we've got one on the bar here.
But it
By
is-
the way, shout out to Laura Hay as well. We're gonna get Laura. We're gonna get Laura on. By the way, I'm gonna call you SMWS alumni because you used to work here.
But,
you know that.
But like when you were saying like Laura, was telling you this is what's going to happen. I remember not the first time I met Laura. Like by the time I was working at the Oak Barrel by this time, I've known you for 5 years. We've like done a lot of like stuff in my old Dram Club life together, and I was like, oh, I'd love to meet Dave Broom and Charlie McLean one day, like knock off drinks. I was like, oh yeah, he's one of my best mates, and just like everyone I could roll off, I was just like, yeah, he's my godfather.
Lovely guy. Yeah.
Is this where I was chatting to Dave Broom yesterday? Is that one of those moments?
No, it's not. It's not. It isn't.
So I've met Dave.
I mean, nice placement, but you know.
So a few comments here. Miranda Marie says the same thing happens with your beer journey. Yeah, I think it's with any journey.
I am gone from craft beers right now, and I know that's terrible, but I got so crafty. And
Oh, I
hoppy.
love my crap beers.
I'm back
people
to,
people
like-
bag me out for drinking like crazy, like rare single cask stuff, but also just enjoying Reshes or VB on tap.
So I was
I'm
like,
back
be
to-
very careful what you say next.
I said
Precious is only one.
I also like I enjoy non-craft beer. I don't care. It's like
But it's what your purpose of drinking in that, because like if I'm drinking a beer with a whiskey, Reshes is perfect because I just want a cold, crisp, clean beer that doesn't complicate the other drink that I've got in my hand. Whereas, yes, I'd happily drink amazing craft beers. Can I easily sit there and go, all right, well, I'll have 6 or 8 of those? No, nor should I.
Guys, we're getting old.
For the mum that's listening,
Oh.
We're getting old.
definitely don't.
There's a
don't
great
drink that
question that's
much.
come
Yeah.
through on the society stream here.
Bring
I've heard
it.
bourbon described as having depth as opposed to breadth of flavours in comparison to Scotch. Thoughts? So Caleb asks, I've heard bourbon described as in bourbon the spirit, not ex-bourbon casks.
Yeah.
Having depth
I'm
opposed to
not
breadth.
sure, Caleb, but I would refer to Andy, the Southtrade representative, who looks after quite big brands like Buffalo Trace and all those derivatives. And I think I just heard him say, all bourbon is boring. So, I mean, personally, I love it. But
He said it off camera, but he
Is that
did
what he
say it.
said?
That's what I heard. That's the screen grab I'm going to get.
Okay, so I explained
I
this in...
fucking love bourbon.
I fucking love bourbon. I love fucking American whiskey right now. So I explained it I did a masterclass for some guests of Gourmet Traveller Wine Magazine. I did the single malt whiskey guide, then I did the bourbon and rye guide. And one of the cool things was when I poured out for the single malt, there was a beautiful range of colours in the glasses at the time. And then when I poured out for the American, the bourbon and rye guide, similar colours. But in saying that, they control, so I think we get so much of an influence of flavour from casks in single malt. But when it comes to like your bourbon and ryes, they're controlling it with different percentages of mash build. They believe their yeast is different.
It goes back
so
to-
there is quite a big difference in, sure, it's all the same colour and you get a lot of vanilla. But there is actually quite, I believe it is quite a deep...
Oh, it's huge. And it's, when we were going back to talking about, maltings and various different types of malt and how you work, I was talking about Buffalo Trace the other day, and it was, we had this thing that says, these are 4 key mash bills, and here are all the brands that sit within it. And even, in mash bill 1, you've got Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare. They don't taste anything alike. They're made from the same starting point. It's just like, well, you've got depth in that. And then you jump across, it's like, well, then you've got Blantons, and then you've got that's a style, and that's so much more variable in terms of that kind of richness and that body. And then you pop across to the next mash bill, and you've got Weller, and it's again, it's just like, geez, and that's what I mean about that ignorance. Like I was always Scottish family, Scottish drinks. It was, you drink Scotch, and I gave bourbon a bit of a chance, but I didn't really go into it and go, oh, I'm going to actually learn about you and explore. It was just, I'll drink a bit of bourbon, and I enjoyed Four Roses, I enjoyed Elijah Craig, I enjoyed Buffalo Trace, but I didn't really drink it that much. And to me, it was kind of like, well, that's there for your cocktails, and it's bloody great in a Manhattan, but, am I going to sit there and drink it neat as I would do my glass of our Big Ten? Probably not. And
it's a mindset shift.
It is, and I think it wasn't until I realised the breadth, and I think it's an ignorance on my part, because it's you compare it in the same way of going, if I looked at Scotch in the same way, then I probably would have gone, look, I've tried Bell's, I've tried Teachers, I've tried Hankey Bannister, I've tried Glenmorangie 10 and Glenfiddich 12. I know Scotch whiskey. I know what it's like.
Don't say shit about Hankey Bannister, by the way.
No, I'm just saying thing.
Yeah, good.
We have a group
No, what I'm
chat,
saying
and I
is
didn't
like,
understand
you know,
the
I've
part
tried-
last night about Hankey Bannister.
I've tried-
I was like, yeah, right, boys.
I've tried
Come on.
I've tried blended whiskey, and I've tried mid-price single malt, so I understand it. And it's not until you start tasting others and you go, oh, actually, like there's so much here.
There's a lot of comments coming through here on the stream.
Triggered.
You've heard, like Phil Mack.
As long as he triggered
of,
and I didn't.
Phil, good to see you, mate.
Friend of the stream, friend of the podcast, says easy beer and big whiskey, perfect. But people say like corn is a much simpler grain than barley, but like rye, Jose's saying rye is great, very spicy. But what I can guarantee you is right now in a bar in New York called Bang Bang Kiss Kiss, there's 4 Americans sitting around.
No, there is actually one that opened up 2 weeks after us called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I think it's in LA, not New York.
Okay.
Though.
So in LA,
Yeah.
and there's 4 people sitting there doing a live stream going, man, I just can't get into that Scotch stuff. Like, I don't understand, like...
Sorry, I
these
can't
are
get
these
into that
different
Scotch
Yeah.
whiskey.
All right.
I was
Okay, but hold on,
like,
okay.
because
I'm going
it
to bring
is, like,
4 bourbons next week.
Yeah, we're shifting. And if anyone wants to, like, we did get into this quite with another friend of the stream, Miles Munro from the Westwood Distillery in Portland, Oregon, who had to stay up till 2 a.m. his time to do it, until 3 a.m. a tasting with me last week. And because we were, we're going to let that one go. Because we were like, it was 7 o'clock my time, 2 a.m. his time, and we just sort of got weird into that sort of stuff and talking about like the psyche of American drinkers and trying to come to it from a single malt American. So like, if you got it, it's on our Facebook and on the YouTube. Go and have a watch because it's actually very fascinating touching upon this sort of stuff. I do want to quickly,
the corn being simple as well.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just picked up on that comment. I was like,
it's wrong because like you look at cheetah in a different barrel.
Simple?
no, corn is simple compared to barley was one of the comments, and I don't agree with
that's
that.
wrong.
I totally disagree. I'm a farmer's daughter. I harvest corn. Hell no.
We missed that us being triggered at this point.
Wheat, rye, barley, corn, whatever, they are all very different grains. They produce a different result. But to call one more simplistic than the other, I think, is a bit of a misnomer. And
It's what you do with it and how you...
barley-based whiskey is the best. We know this as a fact, but that's okay.
I want to quickly comment that came about 15 minutes ago to get a chance to answer it. But to Mark, any Oak Barrel bottling's coming soon because he just finished or just opened his Paul John Oak Barrel bottling, which was excellent. Yes, and if you were on very early in the stream tonight, we've just quietly announced Sydney Whisky Forum 2020, which we'll probably announce start of next week. And the Tuesday night of that week of conference type thing is launching a single cask. Plus there is a few other things as well to talk about.
That's right.
And maybe before this stream went live, I needed to actually bring in some expert knowledge to look at some other single cask samples. So there's a few things in the works from the obviously, and actually there was a sample arrived from Scotland via America or somewhere this morning. And it was like this whole DHL thing. It's coming. Like get 3 weeks worth of notifications for one 30ml sample. But such is the COVID world that packing warehouses are closing down. So a lot of things. But 2021 is going to be a busy year for single casks.
I received glassed samples yesterday, which I thought was that's an absolute first. 4 bottles, sealed, all the packaging, no liquid.
Yeah, I've had them before. We get them through at the society sometimes, yeah.
Best comment of the night.
Right.
Peter Bignell, no spaces. Right. For the ride. Right.
Peter, good to see you. Thanks for everything recently.
Oh, Peter, I need to tell you something. I walked into my brother's house the other day, and he's sitting on the couch with his friend, and he screams at me, "Alex, there's a guy on the TV that does whiskey, and he's talking to Gordon Ramsay." And obviously, your episode...
Hollywood Bignell.
Yeah, Hollywood Bignell. Your episode was airing, and my brother thought that was super funny and super awesome that there was... that Gordon Ramsay was shoveling sheep poo.
So I'm going to let you into a little bit of a secret at the moment. On the Oak Barrel website, when something's out of stock, there's a little field there, that text field that says, email me when I'm back in stock. For the past month, Belgrove Holy Shit has been I can log on it now, and I guarantee that we got 6 people sitting on it as the world gets that Nat Geo documentary rolled out. There's about 250 people on the waiting list for a Holy Shit. I'm actually thinking about doing them the bait and switch, just putting one up and then getting it down just to get the angry phone calls afterwards. But congratulations, Peter. And we're actually doing a live with Peter coming up pretty soon. Which is going to be cool.
What's going on, man?
With the team from Nip of Courage have done some Rye July tasting packs, so we look forward to having that there.
On.
Before we move on to the next one, just a quick comment from Andrew.
Wind up.
Most blend states fairly similar until you do them side by side. And that's
I agree.
100% all peated Scotch whiskey tastes the same until you do them side by side.
Yeah.
All sherry cask Scotch whiskey tastes the
Or
same.
Chablis tastes the same.
Or Burgundy tastes the same. So, people getting into, and that's why I think that some of the virtual tastings that everyone's in this room has been doing have been great, because haven't been stopping that idea of let's do things vertically and understand the differences, which we could do physically, and I think it's really important rather than just doing one whiskey going here it is and that's what it is. But so are we drinking something good or something bad?
Can I ask why we're... Can I do this yet?
Say it.
Why are we putting Coke with this whiskey?
We're not. This is people.
Why did I have to go and get a bottle of Coke for this?
There's 2 people against me that you know, based on previous experiences and based on...
Look, for those who don't know, Andy looks after a folio of some very, very impressive Scotch whiskies.
Very good whiskey.
Some amazing bourbon.
Are you about to be a whiskey geek, Matt?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yes.
And he also looks after Speyburn. Now, I didn't say anything bad. I didn't say anything bad.
I was so ready to be like, I can share this with with the team. Be like, look how well Anok 24 was received. Just cut off at
Anok was absolutely baller. Like, I loved that. That was great.
And like I said, he looks after Pulteney, Anok,
Come on.
Starwood.
to an extent.
Balblair.
I'm
Bal
with you.
Blair-
This is not
Balblair.
Great whiskey.
What
Balblair is
did you read Balblair?
You know what? Balblair, I could...
Balblair. 89 Balblair. Bloody
You know what? Actually,
Why
this
didn't
will
you
be
bring
my
Pappy?
little plug to say that there
Yeah,
is
more
some
Pappy.
Why didn't you bring Pappy?
30-ish-year-old Balblair coming.
No one gives me Pappy.
Come on, we're friends with you for
You know what?
reason, right?
They know me well enough not to give
Joking,
me that
I'm
stuff. They know where it ends up, so it's just like, well, we're not giving it to you.
Here.
Yeah.
So, well, look, this is the
Would you like to take us through this
Speyburn
whiskey
15.
before
Look,
these? I can't say that
Speyburn
word.
has had a bit of a historical interpretation or perception of being very sort of. It's a low price point. It's you've got two that are very lowly priced in the UK: Speyburn 10 and Braden Auroch, which is Gaelic for golden salmon.
Golden salmon?
Golden salmon.
Salmon.
Yeah. So the distillery runs just off the Granty Burn, which runs off the Spey. So it's the river, literally the Spey flows into the Grant, and then the Granty Burn flows into the distillery. That's our water source. But it's very much kind of, we're driving volume, and that's kind of been a big part of it. And so the younger liquid has been very easy drinking, soft, not overly complex.
A lot of Speyburn goes into blends?
Pardon?
Am I correct?
A lot of Speyburn goes into blends, yeah.
Is there like one blend in particular that is prominent of that backbone? When someone says label 5, you say Glenmurray? Like kind of thing? Is there something like
it's a lot of private label stuff.
Okay.
So, private label for Dan Murphy's, private label for
Yeah.
Tesco and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
So-
yeah, sure. Like there's Kirkland and things like that.
Yeah, this...
Bit of that and...
there is Black Douglas.
Black
There's
Lives.
one.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just for anyone who is watching their post-COVID weight, per 100 ml, it is 254.2 calories.
That feels quite high.
That feels quite low.
And it's
For 100 mil.
kilojoules, it's 1,062.6 per 100 ml.
I mean,
It
I've
has
never
zero
counted a
fats.
calorie in my life, so I don't know.
Zero saturates, zero carbs, zero
Shows.
sugar, zero protein, zero salt. I've never seen that.
Yes,
But 100%
we are
fun.
Speyburn. No,
European
100%
label.
fun. Yeah, this is a
But
fun
if
whiskey.
you put Coke with it,
Then all those sweet flavours combined that creates the perfect drink.
So, no, but I will and I have put up just a graphic here to say, yes, we are
I like
talking about
it.
Speyburn.
I
just
like
in
it.
case
I like
there's any.
it.
So, I know, and this is a sore point with you. And
You're not a whiskey geek.
It's a,
anymore.
sore, it's a sore point with Bailey, and it's actually a sore
Like
point that I had with
anti-whiskey.
the lovely team at Whisky and Almonds, is I'm still not sold on Loch Lomond's, and I'm still not sold on Glen Scotia. There's people who reckon both those distilleries have turned the corner, and I reckon they both have. I'm willing to give Speyburn a chance, like, Loch Lomond's and like Glen Scotia and those sort of distilleries which had gone chasing other markets, not knowing that Scotch whisky was going to dominate the world 10 years later, and sort of realised, shit, we should get out of like Korean 20% whiskey liqueurs and pull back into actual whiskey. So I'm...
Okay, hold on. Just on that point, last night I was at a whiskey tasting last night, and there was a bottle of a Calvados finish Springbank being passed around.
Ooh.
Now, it got great scores, I think, because I gave it a fairly low score, and that's
That's a Springbank.
no. Well, hold on. No, I gave it a lowish score because I thought there's this whole sort of like realm of like. It's got to be good. It's J&A Mitchell. It's 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 J&A. Like
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like. That's why I've got, and I understand skepticism over anything, but it's like these distilleries like Glen Scotia and Loch Lomond, I think, have turned a corner and are producing great whiskey, but no one pays attention to Glen Scotia. Like it's not a distillery that many people pay attention to. it's well, let's be honest, it's split distribution in Australia. It's a good whiskey, and I think they're doing very good things. I've got no affiliation with Glen Scotia. I'm talking purely from spirit quality, but.
I just want to. I think that's a really important point, and it's a point that people that don't work, full time in the industry may not always see. But the Glen Scotia, the story that I kind of wanted to like a lot of times and could never get my head around it. The Victoriana is an excellent whiskey.
It's
Some of the stuff
excellent.
they're doing, but that's split distribution, and for what that means is it's coming in via two different companies and.
One very small and one very large.
Yeah, and so there's almost like a dual economy of where Glen Scotia comes from. And so an independent bottle store like the Oak Barrel, I was so excited and ready to stock Glen Scotia.
Yeah.
I can't, because what I would pay for it, you would walk in and Google it and be like, that is crazy price compared to what I can buy online. And what I'm paying
we're not
for
talking
it,
like $1 or $2 more. We're talking like 20 or 30 more.
Yeah.
And that's absurd.
And what I'm paying for is pretty much a little bit higher than what is being sold online, particularly at the end of financial we just had when certain chain bottle stores had such a great COVID period, they could afford to dump their spirits department and go, we can rewrite this. So,
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, that's a different story. But yeah.
But that's for people who don't know, that's a real thing. I would love to stock Victoriana and a few other Glen Scotia things, but I can't. And I think it's just with every industry it's the same.
So
but that's a little bit of a peak.
And I said last night, it's like if our society Scotias, they had code 93 on the bottle. If that was code 27, they'd sell out in a flash. They'd vanish because that's code for Springbank.
Yeah.
But if they were code, but it's around the corner from Springbank and they're great whiskies, and it's like everyone there's almost a cult like status to some of the other Campbelltown whiskies.
Yeah.
But
And you know that you kill Karen's well anyway.
the lesson we've learned is, don't always write off. Flogged horse. It's like sometimes actually things come around, and there's the 15-year-old was the one that kind of actually made me go, we're back talking like this. We've turned a corner and we're ready going again. It's an 18-year-old.
I wouldn't throw it out of my glass. Does that work?
There's an 18-year-old coming next.
That's hardly high praise.
Yeah.
That's like saying
means I'll
it's
drink
not
it.
shit.
No, but I'll drink it.
But I think it's
That's the highest praise from me. Definitely not shit.
But I'm intrigued. There's an 18-year-old coming next year, which I haven't tried yet.
so. But what does the portfolio look like?
So
is this here now?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So Brad and Norak 10, 15 is all that we've got now, and then 18.
Always.
The allocation goes live in October. So by the time it gets from Scotland to here, December.
Can we try it with Coke though?
I mean, I always, you know what? People ask me the same, even with single cask society. Can you mix them with Coke? You buy the bottle, you do what you like with it.
Yeah.
Like it's your whiskey. You do what you like.
Man, I'm Jack and Coke girl.
We know.
I don't care how you drink your whiskey as long as you're drinking it.
Yeah.
But 50-50, right? Like 50 Jack, 50 Coke. Come on.
Are you kidding me? I have my Coke in my dropper.
Just two. Yeah, two.
That whiskey geeks.
She goes for about one can of
Next
Coke a
level.
year.
The flatter the better. Yeah.
Yes, and it's redistilled and
You keep it in a cask to
Yeah.
just let it
Yeah.
develop and mature. Yeah.
Got a question from Matt coming through. Does society have any Springbank Glengyle casks?
Yes, we get them from time to time. That's code 27 in our list, and we also get the lovely Speyburn from time to time, which is code 88. They do come through.
Is there any 2319s? It's a Monsters Inc. reference, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No,
You know what? That's an oddly
That's a
obscure
what?
reference. Anyway,
15-year-old film.
I saw Monsters Inc. 10 years ago when it came out. Or something.
10-year-olds.
2319, No,
Okay,
sorry.
sorry.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
to
I said it in that
answer-
voice. I know exactly
To
what
answer
you're
that
talking
question, yes, we do get 27s through from time to time. They're usually, I'll be honest, it's usually a case of us buying a private cask, someone who's passed on a cask, someone who's has sold it onto the distillery, and then they've sold it to us. We don't have a direct relationship with Springbank. But no independent bottler does. So it's not really sort of like we're sort of barred from that relationship. It's just that it's one of those things a bit like some distilleries. They don't do direct supply. It's very far and few between. We don't get direct supply of Balvenie is a good example as well. But we do see them from time to time. But I mean we do get a lovely supply of 93s, which is a Campbelltown whiskey. etc. And we do get some 88s from time to time. Not many. I think we've only ever had about 10 or 15.
Just before we move on to that, and I like to drop a few hints during these tastings, see if anyone remembers in the morning, which hopefully they don't.
Thank you.
But the question came up a little bit earlier. Oak barrel, we're a little bit overdue for single casks and like oak barrel exclusives. We had 3 or 4 lined up.
Yep.
One of those still is happening because it was already on the water by the time all this happened, so we're going to pay for that. But it's given a chance to readdress, and Campbelltown watch this space for 2021.
I just realised I didn't actually answer Caleb's question entirely. He says, does SMWS have Glengale Kilkerran? Sorry, no.
No one has Glengale.
No. They what, just 1 month a year or something of distillation run?
No, it was 1.5 this last year.
Sorry, 1.5 months out of a whole year of distillation.
And
You forgot the 2
I
weeks.
chased them to New Zealand. I bought them a lot of drinks at a, you know the last word?
Yes, I know the last
You
one.
know the like Spanish dance hall across the road, like that nightclub thing?
Unfortunately.
Yes.
We're not talking
Yeah.
about
3 or 4 a.m.
kids again.
with 2 very lost gentlemen from Campbelltown who I was trying to buy single casks off.
Which guys was it?
Dave and Cam. Yeah.
Look, in a nutshell,
Okay.
no. I mean, but never say
I've
never.
tried. I've
We've
tried
got
very
a
hard.
good, we've got a good relationship with them, but not at the moment. No, there's no casks.
All right.
Shall we?
Yes. Let's. What do we
Yeah,
got?
I reckon we go to the rye
Yeah,
and then
okay,
the
right.
cognac. You can't have 2 anox in one sitting. I'm sorry.
Oh, what?
Yeah, you can.
What is it? What are we on?
So, this is another conversation I had today with a distillery who I've been following for a number of years, and was actually a special guest at, and this is the same thing. This is from the Distillers Dinner last year.
Good dinner, by the way. That was great.
Bloody good fun. And as of February, we had a lot of plans with Lee and Bree Atwoods from the Backwoods Distillery.
Oh,
yes, I
awesome
know.
stuff.
Lee, Bree, Atwoods, Backwoods. It's a nightmare. Every time it comes on the live stream, I'm going to say that that's a nightmare.
I really love this.
Big plans, but their first rye whiskey is ready very, very soon.
Yeah, right.
In the start of August, and they're
What
actually
does Matt
doing...
Wallace say? Hello, ladies.
Hello.
They're doing a live launch with the team at Whisky and Almonds, I think on the 6th or the 7th of August when it actually comes out. We had planned to do a lot of stuff around them, but I can tell you that we locked them in today on the Thursday night, which would have been the Distillers Dinner. We're going to get the team on, Lee and Bree, remotely to talk about their first whiskey. So this one is a cask sample from a year ago. So this is about a year-old rye whiskey. I don't remember the exact specs. It's not mucking around.
Oh, sorry. Oh, would you look at that?
65%.
Nice, baby.
Do it again. Do it again. I need
Thank you, Miranda. The 6th of... This is
So the left.
taking selfies during a live stream.
It's not a selfie, it's a picture.
All the same thing. Anyway, so thank you, Miranda. It's the 6th. Go and jump on the Whisky and Almonds site. I think it's on sale already. Doing the launch for that. But yeah, we're going to announce something with on what is going to replace what would have been the Distillers Dinner night. And Lee and Bree Atwood, and this is the first time ever, are going to be the first people ever invited back to a Distillers Dinner the 2nd year in a row, because there's a rule, you can't come to Distiller. It's a virtual one, it's a little bit
I
different.
behaved myself. Can I please come back?
Oh, punters, yeah, man. I've been,
Oh, yeah,
I've
okay.
been to every year
Anyway.
since Dave started it, so...
I love the nose.
yeah, but this was
Taxi
work in
punches,
progress.
It's like I can't. There's
Very
something
young.
on that that's like.
Very, very young.
It's
This is-
nose
this-
to
this
palate
is
is
the
so
year.
Yeah, it's a
different.
year older
This is
than
the
Yeah.
year. So
Yep.
in the mighty town of Yakandanda, and farewell to Jose, who's jumping up. I think he's got things like kids and stuff. So good night, Jose. But this has also been open. So this came from the same box that I discovered at about 5 o'clock tonight. What are we going to bring? I was like, why does this have Red's for Distillers Dinner written on it? And open. It was all the whiskies. We took the red wines in, brought back the whiskies that were not finished, and I was probably meant to drink them. But but I reckon this is going to be, out of all the distilleries I'm excited about in Australia.
That's
Was this
fascinating, like, because the nose has just got everything. It's just like it brings you in.
It's
No other whiskey tonight has just been like, oh.
This is a little bit rude because, like, I remember talking to Lee at the time. I was like, "What should I bring?"
Oh.
And he was like, I'm going to water it down." It's like, you're going to have a room of like some of Sydney's biggest whiskey nerds. Like, just bring. So this was pure. And I remember he was quite nervous about it. I was like, it's not going to be 65%, it's going to be like 45 or 46 or 50. We're going to do something else. He was nervous about it, but I'm so glad that we sort of were able to convince him. It's like, bring it in its rawest form. People here know it's 1 year old. It's not whiskey. No. It's hot. It's aggressive.
I get some badass tasting notes that I'm not going to say out loud on. They're good ones, but it's really farm girl tasting notes that
It's
not be written down.
it's got that funk. It's got that
Like
kind
cow
of
shit.
It's exactly it.
I get the cow shit.
But not on
some of the stuff I
green grass cow shit, not
No.
like
Yeah,
feed
no,
hay
it's
cow
that
shit.
kinda
Yes,
like-
there's a difference.
It's like that fresh. It's like 3-day-old patties.
I haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah, so
Patties.
This was a whiskey I brought along tonight.
Sorry, we're closed.
Close, mate. Sorry.
Told you we'd do
Adelaide
that.
tomorrow.
There's a second almost.
However, I'm probably going to open up Wednesdays from now on.
Yeah.
With what I've seen from the door.
But yeah, this is
I brought this bottle purely as an excuse to talk about this distillery tonight.
But for 1 year old whiskey, like, it shows so much promise. Like, genuinely, I'm excited to try that again. I see why you wore leather. White plea.
Matt Bailey has spent the night basically throwing whiskey at a quick g'day to David and or Caroline Taylor, and again a happy birthday to Caroline from a couple of days ago. But Miranda says, so excited for the launch. It can confirm they also rested with 6% malted rye, which is really cool. Malted rye is a very Australian thing to do.
It's also coming around a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit of it out there now. I don't mind that at all.
Big shout out to Gospel. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Great rye.
Where do you get them on?
Yes. We've got a lot of people we've got to get on.
Yeah. Well, huge one.
One day we'll write a list.
We've got to stop just having too much fun hanging out. As far as I'm concerned.
And so David Endor Caroline Taylor describes us as the 4 wise souls, and he spells the word souls exactly the way that we would spell it at this point of the night as well.
I am indeed a shoe soul. I am a wise shoe.
I was thinking the country, the
What
city.
country called Seoul? I was like Korea.
Soul?
Korea, so.
Sorry, I was like,
I said country
I said
and then
country
realised I was wrong.
By the time
yeah.
I finished my sentence, he's already got slipped the word city in there.
Yes. Is that all the whiskey?
No.
There's one more
No.
cognac. Well, there is also another Anok.
And knock at your
Bring
face.
one bottle each, guys. That didn't happen.
Yeah, just bring.
I didn't get
where
that
did this come
message.
from?
We never said that message.
Where,
No, yeah.
where does this come from?
So, I worked.
Start somewhere.
Start somewhere.
Would you like some words?
Working for Whisky Exchange, I got really, really privileged getting like super ridiculous whiskies and amazing stuff. And I think I remember talking to you guys about chartreuse as well. And there was one night where we were drinking chartreuse with Sekinda, the owner, and we had some like Tarragona chartreuse and some 930s. I was on my way home. I was like, that was delicious. I'm going to buy some of this. I was like searching on our website. It's like, it's £2,000 a bottle. Probably not going to buy that. And I realised that I was trying this amazing liquid that I just was never going to be able to afford. And whilst it was a huge privilege, at the same time, it was also quite upsetting because, like, I'm trying amazing historical whiskey, and the likelihood that I'll be able to buy that and experience that again in my lifetime, certainly the next 20 years, and post that I'm probably going to get divorced if I do. It's like, well, I'm just 20 years too young to be in this game. And then we started drinking cognac, and he was always obsessed with Martell, and Martell specifically because of your big four, so Hennessy, Remy Cointreau, Martell, and the other one. Who's the other one?
The big one.
So would you say Remy, Hennessy?
Remy Martin. There we go.
Oh, sure.
And the big thing he said is like, I've always loved. He was obsessed with Cordon Bleu. The reason I love Martell is because of Borderies. It's like they have a large amount of Borderies cognac going into this their regions, so Grand Champagne, British Champagne, and Borderies. And he's like, that gives it its flavour. That gives it its amazing character. And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, and if you go back in the history of cognac, it's like, the older stuff in the 60s and the 70s. Now they follow the rules quite closely of VS, VSOP, and so forth, and it's the supply versus demand is quite high, so everything's quite to the line. Whereas jump back 20, 30 years ago, we weren't really being so strict on that time frame because we had a lot more liquid. So it's like, actually, you go back in history and you get this amazing liquid, and it ages really nicely and gracefully in the bottle. And grape spirit, there's a development and there's a change. I was like, oh, okay. So knowing I've been priced out of really the market for whiskey that I was, in
Calms
terms of
everything down, doesn't it?
in terms of history, I was priced out of the whiskey market for what I wanted to buy and afford. So I went into cognac, and I've...
You'll swear 10 minutes in, but you'll hold yourself like 17 hours
I'm
in.
aware of it.
but I got to the point, it's like, actually, I'm going to invest and collect in cognac to a degree. And I invest
If
and
you're
collect...
an ageist, go to cognac.
Yeah, and I collect to
For
drink,
price points.
and it's exactly what I do.
Yeah,
I'm not there to sit there and go,
Yeah,
cool,
that's
I'll make money
okay.
off this in a decade's time. I just drink it.
That is delicious.
And the funny thing
we
is,
have started
I've,
with that because I can't drink anymore.
I've kind of brought loads of stuff. So Martell, that's like 3-star, I think it is. So the old 3-star, which was VS at the time. So it's late 60s, potentially early 70s. But 3 stars, so VS style cognac. But I started with Martell, and I put all my faith and trust in Martell because I love their cognac. And then I kind of branched out, so that, you know what, I'm going to go with some Remy, I'm going to go with some Courvoisier. Courvoisier, same, like 60s, 70s, 3-star. Man, it's delicious.
So
It's
it's not Bastille Day here anymore, but it's probably still Bastille Day on French time. Just
Yeah.
Probably not.
hold on, what time is it?
No.
No,
It's morning there now,
Yeah,
the next
yes,
day.
yes, yeah. But happy
Which, if
Bastille
you're
Day.
still properly French, then you're still...
And what a lovely way to end the night.
Yeah, very.
That's-
very
it's
special.
a- it's a
Thank
love-
you for- Thank you for bringing that. That's very.
It's
very
a
special.
very special bit of moment, a special bit of spirit history there.
Yeah.
I've got a funny relationship with cognac. It's a kind of spirit that you don't really drink. You don't like drink a lot. I don't drink a
you
lot
guys
of
can
cognac.
see his
Yeah,
glass.
so
that he's just
unfortunately, a quick shout out to Miranda who's just
Hide it
done
behind
the
a bit.
check for us to say there's 4 tickets left to the backwards Whisky Now Almond launch. So go and snap them up right now. I'm going to get rid of that so you can see the size of that pour of irreplaceable 1960s cognac.
That is delicious.
Well, the
Thank
joyous
you for sharing that.
thing is I have another bottle at the office.
I don't
There
feel
was-
so bad now.
It was funny. So, like,
Straight from the bottle!
I bought loads of whiskey when I was working in the UK, and
It's gone. It's gone.
I had the predicament of now having to store it in the UK because as much as I'd love to bring it all across here, the cost that excise and duty would cost me is quite significant, and I then had to give proof of the purchase price and everything else, which is a real pain. But the only thing I did bring across is I brought about three bottles of cognac. I didn't bring any whiskey. I brought 3 bottles of cognac.
I was just about to ask you that question, someone who's had such access to such great spirits, what were the 3 bottles you brought in your luggage when you moved from England to Australia?
None, because my luggage was so full of mine and my wife's possessions that I couldn't...
I've got a bad feeling about the lifespan of this bottle.
No, it was here to finish.
Then fuck you all.
But it was...
Start with that next
it
time,
was... I couldn't bring it in my luggage because I actually had to pay extra weight for my luggage as it was. So it wasn't until my second trip back that I actually brought liquid back.
Yeah, and so
But I
Give us
did
3
actually...
bottles.
I asked my friends at the Whisky Exchange to send me some stock.
Now, but what were the 3 bottles you had on your person when you brought back? You said, I want to know at all times. I want to make sure I pack it myself.
2 bottles of Martell and a bottle of Courvoisier.
Okay.
Not a single bottle of whiskey.
What's
So
your
thanks for
relationship with
watching
Armagnac?
Whiskey Roundtable.
Yeah, exactly.
I bloody love Armagnac, and I actually prefer Armagnac to cognac. On obviously you can't say so. I prefer
The other
Scotch
way.
to bourbon. It's
On
average, I would say I prefer
on a-
Armagnac to.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was always the same, and I actually shifted.
So, is this a karaoke bar or like...
Cognac and Coke?
I shifted a bit across to cognac.
This is a karaoke bar at this
Look,
point.
Mum and Dad are trying to have a real conversation. Can you kids in the back seat pull it together, please?
I told you I'm just here.
No, I shifted a bit more towards cognac, and I think it's sort of a bit of both. There was like Armagnac and its complexities is superb, and it's really well priced for its older vintage aged stocks. Cognac, the lower end, so Martel VS, VSOP, is amazing value and is delicious liquid on its own. You then have to jump up, and it was a Port Giro. His cognac's superb, just très rare.
And I like Gros Perrin, 1980 was my favourite cognac of all
Grosperin.
time. Yeah, Gros Perrin, that's what I said. So say it again.
Grosperin.
Gros Perrin, that's what I said.
That one.
Yeah, that one. The 1980 was awesome. It's the first cognac I ever tried.
We're okay. You're going to just smell fantastic. Don't worry about it. There's only 5 mils I smell.
That's right. I put up a comment, so it's just covering you now. So,
But even the
but like that Très Rare, it's over. That's one of my favourite spirits I've ever tried.
You guys smell fantastic in the morning.
And it's what I think we sell it for about $4.30 at the moment with members price $4.20 to $4.40.
it's not cheap, but my God, is it really punching super high?
But I've tried like many $1,000 whiskeys that don't, light a candle to that.
Look, just shut up. Look, okay.
We're going to be splitting up.
Just stop talking about Très Bouillon and you...
I'm just like, Hennessy green tea jacket just where it's at for a karaoke bar. I agree.
Thank you.
But I'm also putting up the thing so Matt doesn't spill anymore.
Look, you don't worry about what I'm spilling. Look,
the only other one I'll say, Remy Martin Carte Blanche.
stop talking about cognac.
tried that.
Okay. As per Alex's comment, no, we're in a responsible venue.
Spayburn?
Spayburn shots with Coke. Yeah, okay.
Where's the Coke?
We're probably going to call it.
Spaykick.
First of all, I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to working with Scotty. I'm sure these two are as well once they calm down.
No.
On Whisky Forum, and he's got some great stuff. We're going to collaborate with him with the SMWS. We're really excited by that.
The Friday night is going to be big.
The Friday night is going to be massive. We're super excited to be working with. We've been talking about this for weeks. It's really exciting.
Thanks for asking us.
We
haven't been talking about this for weeks.
The Saturday night is 8 different Spayburns in a lineup.
Yeah.
We understand tickets won't sell, but we want to be there.
And
the live stream's at 5 a.m. Sydney time. So
it's okay.
We're mixing the Spayburns
It's just
with all the
Spayburn 10
different types of
open at different
Fantas.
times of day.
It's the same.
Grape
It's the same
Fanta,
Spayburn.
orange Fanta.
It's just 4
Raspberry
different types of
Fanta.
Coke we're mixing with.
So
Poured at different times.
yeah.
This is poured at 1 o'clock. This is at 2.
So this is the greatest
We're gonna
Spayburn
crack
experiment.
into Alex's year-long Coke aging regime to see where we can drag some stuff out.
And really appreciate everyone tuning in through the Oak Barrel, through Scotchman Whisky Society for being a part of Whisky Roundtable for another week on the books.
Thanks
this time
so much, guys.
live from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. If you've not visited Kiss Kiss, come down from Thursday to Saturday.
Thursday to Saturday from 5 p.m.
There you go, you heard it here first. I got the days right. I got the days right.
Stay cool, funky dudes.
No.
This is not Bathurst.
That's not
Wait, Kiss Kiss Bang
I'm
Bang.
taking over.
I thought that was the bar. I thought it was a funky dude.
What was your Bathurst call again?
Hey, so how do you pronounce... Okay, we're going to go around the table. How do you pronounce Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Really, thanks for you guys tuning in.
It's the bite on the bottom lip that makes it.
I'm going to hit the end button now because
And
this doesn't
I'll
get
see you
bad.
tomorrow night. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
See you guys. Thank you so much.